Josh Harris, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're trying to do with Wired City and how you got there. What is Wired City?
It's a modern internet television network, and I guess the fundamental component is really what I've over the years, what I've kind of figured out is how to produce real-time chat.
You go from text chat to video chat, and do you think there is a sort of a debate as to whether or not video chat is the same animal as text chat and whether it's going to have some of the same?
It's deceivingly similar, but it has a lot of significant variations. The most important of which is very counterintuitive, and that is that done properly, video chat it does not have problems with predators, the NBC Predator series.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is because when people start turning the camera into their domiciles, into their home studios, it pierces the veil of privacy. It's the last piercing of privacy. And you start having what I call the mall effect, meaning you don't do inappropriate things in the mall, or at least be seen doing them, or you try to hide from them. Because because there's social conventions, and when the camera starts turning into your home, it's sort of like everybody gets to know who you are. In the intimate details, in the one place where you used to be able to let your guard down, and so you end up having to behave in a relative appropriate ways.
And you know this from personal experience, right?
I know this from very personal experience.
So the movie We Live in Public, which won Best Documentary at Sundance, is that correct?
That Grand Jury Prize, Sundance 2009.
That was about you.
I was the main subject of the film, but I think what it was really about was the singularity and what we're heading into. I wired my loft for the internet, automated, and I think I spent about $1.5 million, and I bought the loft specifically for the project, wiring the loft. And I wired I had automated cameras, so when you walk down the center aisle of the space, there were cameras hanging on poles and on sensors, and they would literally follow you down. And then we wrote an algorithm that there was only one speed output that we recorded and went out to the net. Mostly for, the technology couldn't support more.
And this was what, in 2000, 2001?
This is in 2001. 2000, late 2000, early 2001.
And what was the impact personally on you being always
with
online
the cameras
and videos?
It created I had a nervous breakdown, whatever you want to call it. The software in my brain was not designed for that kind of life, and it probably is now. I mean, I probably kind of somehow something stuck, but it's a completely different condition than man has ever known before.
But now your idea for Wired City, isn't it? Aren't you asking people to do what created a nervous breakdown for you?
It's the way of the world. If I don't do it, everybody's going to do it sooner or later. It's an obvious. To me, it's now very obvious that this is happening.
So you want to now scale this out so that anybody can live in public?
Yes. That's very much my game, and we can go through the methodology of doing that.
Well,
but
before we do that, why would they want to do it?
It's sort of like, is TV good or bad, right? Up to this point, Facebook to me is like a publishing model. They're really publishers, or it's really an advanced message board, if you will. Publishing has not been, in the last 100 years, publishing has not been the most powerful medium on the face of the earth. It's been television. So with the advent of net TV, it's not just an incremental increase in power, it's exponential. So it works really well. And there is a morality to it. I don't view it that way exactly. I just think that if you're 5 years old, that is just the way it's going to be.
So what you're talking about is creating sort of a live streaming television network where all of the audience becomes the stars and the participants, and they talk to each other through live video chat, and the best chats get promoted up onto these stages, right, where you get increasing levels of production quality and audience share.
As you go up higher in the stages, just like in a massive multiplayer online game, you get more powers. Or to put it more industrially, you get better administrative controls. What I'm proposing is really to create a kind of hierarchical structure so that better quality signals go north, and the players are rewarded, and when they give subpar signals, they're punished. And so you develop a sort of a hierarchical structure. So imagine if everybody, if the mass audiences all have home studios, and they're all generating chat video signals. The issue really goes back to a Hollywood problem. How do you take mass signal sets and produce them into a coherent form? So my solution to that is sort of a combination of all the different elements I've done through my career, which the simple way to put it is build a sound stage. The sound stage is casts from people at home, meaning if you do something special at home, either you, which is probably based on currency, you have enough money to buy your way in, but you get that currency through eyeballs or transactions or the enabling of transactions, some combination. A production problem to be worked out. But the idea is you get to set, and on set, everything is completely wired and it's done very professionally. On set in the Wired City, when you sleep, we're selling blankets and pillows or whatever people want to sell with people that are lying down. When you eat, you're eating. It's almost like the Truman Show. You're eating Hungry Man dinners or whatever we're selling on. Whatever sponsor wants to sell, that's what you're eating. Except that it's not just simply you're watching people eat. One of the fluxes in doing that is synchronicity, meaning it's the whole idea of people TV dinners. You sit down and every night you watch Jeopardy and eat your food. Well, in my world, every night you sit down and you watch each other and you interact with each other, and and the common thread throughout all of it is that everybody's eating the same food at the same time.
But I don't understand why this is interesting for
the audience.
For the audience. Why do I want to watch a bunch of people eating Hungry Man dinners? Or even if I'm going to eat a Hungry Man dinner, unless I'm really lonely and I don't eat dinners with real people, I don't really see why I would want to interact with them in that way. Or why is that? Why are these sort of?
Why is that compelling?
Why are these pedestrian activities all of a sudden interesting just because they're on video on the web?
Well, you kind of hit it, because if you shave every day, for argument's sake, well, if on that bath counter, on your shaving mirror, there were a group of people that you wanted to shave with every morning, live people that are shaving exactly at the moment that you're shaving. And in my case, I guarantee you, if I wake up at 8:52 in the morning and you put Cindy Crawford in there and my hero Derek Jeter, and we're all in the shade, she may be putting on her makeup, but that's cool with me. And Derek Jeter's in there, and we're hanging, and for that little 3-minute period when I'm shaving, what really the sponsor has done is they've amplified a micro day part into entertainment or engagement.
What happens when there's a murder?
Well, I had an instance with Operator 11, which was my last internet television venture, where Penny and Paige, kind of Hollywood street couple, if you will. One day I get in, she's in a show, I happen to open it up, and she's crying and she's holding her face, and Paige had just beat her up. Literally a case of domestic violence. And it was the post-mortem of that, you're watching it, it's the most compelling television I've ever watched in my whole life, because it's real and it just happened. And I thought that was cool. But what was really cool was a few hours later, all the people that were involved in the beating now, because they'd all knew her and they knew him, they all went back to their old shows in the last 2 or 3 weeks of them in various shows because they could see their timelines, and literally pulling the old clips with the live clips, they were able to reconstruct what led up to the domestic violence. And I assure you it was riveting. And it was riveting because these are people when she got beat up, the camera was in her house at that moment, and we were all knew her from many shows and many involvements before.
So a lot of this reminds me of kind of where chat roulette might end up going. What do you think about chat roulette?
I find it very basic. I don't think it's. He just found a little piece of a formula that people glommed onto. What it really tells me is that there's demand for real-time video communications, and this is an indicator, but it's not the end-all, be-all. It's sort of like the Jenny cam. Remember Jenny cam?
Right.
It's sort of like the Jenny cam of yesteryear.